If you're working with a really crappy powder, like some of those like DIY powders that, you get off of Amazon for like 10 bucks for like a color pack of 6, those are never going to dry, okay? It's going to take like 15 minutes to dry. Hi guys, and welcome back to Skilled. I'm a little sad today because prior to filming this episode, I actually filmed an entire episode on actual acrylic application where I applied these nails. It's a beautiful, beautiful shade called Pink Silk, and it's one of our bestsellers, and everything about the application was just so perfect, and then I freaking lost the footage. Well, I have the footage, but what I don't have is the audio that goes with the footage, and it just pissed me off so much. But we're going to actually use the set of nails that I have on my hand, and for this episode, we're going to focus on filing and shaping and how to make sure that you get, the most perfect shape. And hopefully this will make up for the lost footage in my heart. But I am going to refill acrylic application because I think that is a very crucial step in your beginner acrylic journey. So don't worry, because we're going to bring it back. We're going to do another episode, but for today, we're going to focus on shaping and filing and all that good stuff. So first off, let's talk about the things that you're going to need. The first thing that you're going to need is a 100-100 hand file. This one here is from Macart Pro, and it's just so cute. It's a white little hand file, and they come in a pack of 10. Just remember, you guys, you cannot reuse these on different clients. If you've ever been to like a nail salon and you see them using those like ratchety looking, nail files on you, tell them no. These are more like one person use. It's not single use, but it's more like for one particular person. The reason is because you can't sanitize these in barbicide because they are technically made from like paper byproducts. So one thing I like to do with my clients is after they come in for their first appointment, I'll basically put it into their basket, and then the next time they come, I just pull it out their basket. So this way I'm using the file on the same person every single time, and then once it's dead, I'll just replace a new one for them. But I make sure that I only use one file per person. The next thing that you're going to need is some different drill bits, which I'm going to walk over as well. The first drill bit that you're going to need is this one here. This is called a 5-in-1 drill bit, and I use this to seal in the cuticles, which I'm going to walk over how to do that as well. And then you're also going to need some sanding bands. These sanding bands will fit onto the mandrel bit that comes with the Flawless Pro. Same thing as the nail file, you should only be using one sanding band for each client, and you should not be using the same sanding band on multiple clients just in case you cut them, because you can't sanitize these either. And then, most importantly, is you need the Flawless Pro e-file. The Flawless Pro e-file is an absolute game changer. If you've tried any other e-file and then you got the Macart Pro Flawless Pro, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. The battery life on this is incredible. After a full charge, it can last you 8 to 10 hours, and it is so quiet. Oh my gosh. Even at like full speed, it is so freaking quiet. So I absolutely love this, and I'm excited to show you guys how to use this today. So first off is I'm going to put on some gloves. I always put on gloves whenever I'm doing any service, and usually what I do is I actually put on a mask as well whenever I'm filing, because I will breathe that in, and then if I'm doing removals and there's just a lot of dust, then I will also use a dust collector. But since I'm filming today, once I put a mask on, unfortunately the microphone is not going to pick up my voice very well, so we're just going to hold in my breath today. Let's start out by talking about shaping. So one thing I'm going to talk about is with shaping, I don't like to do it with a Flawless Pro e-file. I just don't do it with an e-file at all. I actually use a hand file, and I find that with the hand file, the shapes always come out better, and I think it's because like the hand file is straight, so it'll like straighten it out. So we're going to start out with talking about how to properly hold the hand file. When you hold your hand file should look like it's straight, okay? That black line there should be parallel to the sides of the nail. If it's not held straight and you have like a little bit of an angle like this, you're gonna shave off that nail in a really weird way. So we wanna make sure that we're holding our hand file as straight as possible. And what I like to do is I look at that black line and I just make sure that it's always straight as I'm filing. The second thing is when you're filing your nails, you want to first like tap it to just make sure that the acrylic has fully dried on it. If it's giving you like a sharp clicky noise, then you know that it's ready for you to file. But it's giving you like a soft bluntness to it, don't file because it's not ready yet. Usually acrylic will take anywhere between 7 to 8 minutes to fully dry to a point where you can file. and you're gonna feel like a heating process prior to that. It shouldn't be so hot that like it hurts your client, but you will feel some temperature and some hotness like on the acrylic, and that's because it's reacting with the monomer. And then after that heat passes, around like 7 or 8 minutes or so is when it's going to fully get to a point where it's dry for you to file. But if you're working with a really crappy powder, like some of those like DIY powders that you get off of Amazon for like $10 for like a color pack of 6, those are never going to dry. Okay, it's going to take like 15 minutes to dry. You can't get profitable with that, because after you apply the acrylic, you're going to be sitting around waiting for it to dry before you can hand file. So we're going to do a 5-point file. This is my way of filing. I'm not saying that this is like the ultimate best way, but it's just how I file. What is the 5-point file? You're going to do one, hold on, let me hold this a little straighter to the camera. You're going to do 1, this is 1. You're going to do the same thing on the other side, 2. Then you're going to flip around and you're going to do the bottom, 3. And then you're going to do the other side, 4. Keeping it always straight and parallel. Don't like angle like this, okay? And don't angle like this. You're going to give yourself a little knot there. And then 5. That right there is the 5-point file. It's my favorite way of filing. I'm not saying that it's the best, but I personally like filing this way. So let's start out with 1. When you're filing, you want to make sure that you're holding the hand file straight and with a firm but slower file. Sometimes I'll see beginners go crazy like this. Don't do that. It's not worth it. You're going to tire your arms out, but instead you're just going to do a firm but kind of slow file. And usually I don't do nails on myself. So usually I'm holding the client's hand, right? And in that case, you're going to take your fingers and you're going to pinch down to pull the perineum out of place. The perineum is that delicate skin on the 2 sides of the nail bed. They are delicate, so you got to be very careful with it. And what I like to do is I like to almost like pull that skin back so that I can really see the edges, so that I'm not filing my client's skin at that point. And I actually use my thumb and my pointer finger to act like a buffer and a guide. This way I know that if it starts to hurt me, it's definitely hurting my client. If you cause trauma to the right or the left side of that nail bed, it hurts. It's called perineum, and we just don't want to do that to our clients. Also, make sure that you guys season your hand files before you start with a new fresh file. These edges here are sharp on a new file, so you just want to take another hand file and you're just going to score the edges and just make it like blunt so it doesn't cut this skin right here. All right, so pulling that skin back, keeping that hand file straight. We're going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down in a slow but steady motion. And now you can see this edge here is filed. All right, and all I'm doing is just straightening it out so that there's no like weird lumpiness. We're going to do the same thing on this other side here, keeping the hand file straight. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Just like that. Okay, as long as you guys keep your hand file straight, your nail shape should always come out perfectly. Obviously, if it's a square, then file like this. This is a coffin, so I'm going to file like this at a little bit of an angle. And you just want to follow the guide. Again, filing can fix some things, but filing can't fix everything. It is one thing I always remind my beginners, especially those that are coming from the world of DIY into the world of professional. In the world of professional, you are racing against time because you have another client right behind you and you cannot afford to sit there for an hour just trying to like correct some of your application. So just remember, when you're filing, you should be filing on nails where you applied the shape pretty much like 98%, correct, so that when you do go in to do your shaping and your filing, you're not wasting time to fix those mistakes. Okay, now 3, we're going to do the underside. 3 and 4, just to clean it up, just in case you have some like jaggedy edges down here, and then 5. Now, with the 5, you can either go this way, or for me, because I like the shape of a moon cut, I'm going to go down at an angle. And there you have it. Okay, and that right there is going to be my shape. Let me fix this little slant here. It's always a little harder to file on my own hand, considering that I don't really do my own nails. I get so many people that will join our live streams on TikTok and they're like, do you do your own nails? Like, do you have any tips for me? And I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I'm not going to romanticize this. I do not do my own nails, ever. I generally do other people's nails, so that's why I hold my hand like this, because I'm looking at it as if I'm looking at a client. In the world of DIY, though, a lot of the DIYers, they'll kind of do this. But for me, I guess I'm just used to this angle here. Okay, we're going to repeat the same process on the other side as well for the second nail. Underside, underside, and filing the tip here as well. I like to do it at an angle. I think it just gives me like a sharper look. With clients though, I will flip their hand almost like around like this, and I actually file like this. By the way, when you guys are filing the tip on a client's hand, make sure you take your hand and you pinch down their nail bed to hold their nails in place, because if you don't do this and you start filing like that, it's going to hurt them because it's going to drag it up and down. Slow and steady wins the race. With the pinky, I hate filing my own pinky because now I'm doing some like weird gang signs. And finally, we're going to do the thumb. I promise you guys, when you guys do this on other people, it's actually easier because you're holding their hand at the same time. Oops. So yeah, this is actually what I do is I usually look at the client's fingers like this, and then I take the hand file, and then I file from the top. And this way I can see what I'm doing here, but it's a little harder to do this when you're doing it on yourself. And there you go. All of your nails are properly filed and shaped. And now we're going to take it to the e-file. With the e-file, the first drill bit I'm going to use is the 5-in-1 drill bit. Lock it into place. I see sometimes people lock it all the way like this. You're going to have a very hard time working on nails because this is going to get in the way, especially when you have longer nails. Like, do we see that? Where how it just like kind of gets in the way. Instead, you're going to unlock it, pull it out a little, and then put it back in. This way, it gives you a lot more room to work with. Let's kick that up and let's take it to 3,000 RPM to start. I'm just going to go around my cuticles gently, and all I'm doing is sealing in the cuticle. This allows me to blend the acrylic into my natural nail. And so when the nails grow out, there's not like a sharp ledge. And by doing this, you prevent your client's hairs and fabrics and stuff like that from getting into the nail, which is usually the biggest root cause of lifting. Oops. And then now I'm going to kick it up to 10,000 RPM, and at an angle, we're going to file the undersides of these as well. And now I'm going to go back to my hand file and I'm going to file the surface of the nail. By the way, all of this stuff, you do not have to do it in this order. You can do it in whatever order you want. I just do it in the order that I'm used to. So start out by filing the very top, okay? Just in one direction, holding it flat to the nail like this. Do you see how this line starts to show up? Sometimes you'll find a dent in the middle. You just want to keep going until everything is smoothed out like this. Okay? This is going to help you smooth out the surface of the nail, and then you'll just keep going in one direction off to the side to blend it in, and then blend in the other way as well. I promise you guys, this is a lot easier when you're not doing it on your own hand. We're going to do this one here as well. You're just going to line it all up. And then blend it to the side. Same as this one here. Line it up, blend it to the side. And the last one, which is the pinky. Do you see how there's a dip right there? By doing this, it's going to catch that dip and help you to smooth it out. Ow. I hate filing on myself. All right, let's do this way instead. Yeah, this is better. And I just do this in one direction. And then I blend to the side, and then I blend to the side with the other direction. And now you should have perfectly smooth tops. Once you do this, you can now go back to your e-file and now change this to the sanding bands on the mandrel bit. Same thing, don't push it in all the way. You're going to take it out of it a little bit. Lock it, take it down. Let's take it down to 5,000 RPM. And we're just going to file and buff everything out so that we have a super smooth surface without any big dips, no bumps, no harsh like lines where we were filing earlier with the hand file. When you're working with a sanding band, you want to be very careful around the cuticle and nail base area. When you're working with a sanding band, just remember, don't go crazy. If you go crazy, you're going to overfile and you're going to take away product. So just remember, all you're doing is you're not trying to take away product, you're just smoothing. You're smoothing and getting rid of like very obvious bumps and lines. That's all we're doing here. And that's it. Now, unfortunately, I don't have buffer blocks at home right now. I need to order some from AcrylicPro.com. But in the meantime, we're just going to make do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some lint-free wipes and I'm just going to wipe this whole thing down. And then I'm going to go wash my hands and then come back and then clean it with alcohol. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm back and now I'm going to take some 70% isopropyl alcohol to wipe down the surface of the nail. Sometimes people will use acetone, and one thing I've learned is acetone is going to smooth everything out way too much just because it's like, you know, it technically melts the acrylic. So by doing that, you're not going to leave anything for the gel polish to have something to grab onto. And so you might see some flaking off pretty early in that retention. So use alcohol because all you're trying to do is just remove any oils, and make sure that when the clients go to wash their hand after you file everything, use a scrubby, but don't let them use soap because a lot of soap comes with essential oils and those oils are going to cause that surface to get oily, and then your gel polish is gonna have a hard time staying on. And that's it. That's all we do. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Skilled. I'm really glad that I got to really help you guys break down the process of shaping and filing. I'm excited to get to the next steps, so stay tuned for the next episode of Skilled.